A rebellious girl named Ruby often spends her nights hanging out with friends. The next morning during breakfast, her brother Rhett tries to tell their parents about it, but she quickly stops him. That night, while their parents are out celebrating their anniversary, Ruby sneaks out again to party with her friends. When she returns home, she's shocked to see police cars outside. The officers inform her that her parents were killed in a car crash. Ruby is so stunned that she passes out. At the funeral, Rhett tries to give a speech through tears, but their parents' close friends, Terry and Dr. Aaron, step in to comfort him and speak in his place. Later that day, their lawyer Alvin tells Ruby that their parents left them a large inheritance and chose Terry and Aaron to be their guardians. Terry and Aaron now move in with them, and the siblings are amazed by the big, fancy house. But their excitement fades when they find out they have to share a room. That night, Ruby goes outside to change into her pajamas but feels like someone's watching, so she hurries back inside. Ruby transfers to a public school, and she feels uneasy in her new surroundings. She talks about it with a friend on the phone, but their call is cut short when Aaron asks her to help with the groceries. Aaron then says Ruby should adjust her attitude about school, revealing she overheard the phone call through the other line. This makes Ruby feel more uncomfortable. One night, Ruby has a bad dream about the accident and can't sleep, so she heads to the pool for a swim. She's startled to see Terry by the water. As she climbs out, she feels awkward when he stares at her. Terry tells her not to swim so late because the noise echoes inside the house. During driving class, memories of the crash flood Ruby's mind, and she doesn't feel well all day. She tries to take a pill, but Aaron sees her. Ruby says it's for cramps, so Aaron takes her upstairs to a cabinet full of pills and gives her one. The next day, Terry invites Ruby to a premiere with his coworkers, but she says no because she still has an essay to finish. He says it won't take long, so she agrees. But instead of the event, Terry brings her to an upscale restaurant. They talk about her past, but when Terry opens up about feeling lonely in his marriage, Ruby feels uneasy and wants to go home. In the car, Terry leans toward her, and when she pulls back, he says he was only reaching for her seatbelt. When they return, Ruby sees Aaron injecting herself and acting dazed. She begins to feel uneasy in their new home, so after school, she talks to Alvin. The lawyer promises to look into it and says someone will visit soon. Before leaving, Ruby asks how much money her parents left, and Alvin tells her it's $4 million. That evening, the couple explains that Aaron's injection was insulin for her diabetes. Aaron says she hopes Ruby will trust them, and Ruby says sorry for overreacting. The next day, the driver doesn't show up to get Ruby from school, so she walks to Terry's workplace for a ride. At his office, she hears Terry talking to some men about a loan, and then sees them threatening him. She leaves and heads to the repair area, where she spots a car that looks just like her parents' old vehicle. Later on, Ruby checks the internet and finds an article about her parents' accident. It says they were driving a BMW, and Ruby is stunned because her parents never owned that kind of car. She emails their lawyer to ask who the BMW was registered to. That night, Terry walks into her room and sees Ruby asleep. He checks her laptop and notices she hadn't finished her Hamlet essay. The next morning, Ruby wakes up and sees her essay is already completed. At school, a social worker meets with Ruby, saying she was contacted by their lawyer to check on her situation with the guardians. Ruby tells her everything, how she shares a room with her brother, Terry's strange actions, and Aaron injecting herself with something. The next day, the social worker visits the house to inspect, but this time, the kids already have separate rooms. When she checks Aaron's medicine supply, the illegal pills are gone. She talks with the kids again, and Ruby feels frustrated that nothing suspicious was found. While throwing a cereal box in the trash, Ruby finds a letter from her old private school. She learns that their guardians canceled their tuition and received a $30,000 refund. She checks her email for a reply from Alvin, but her AOL account has already been shut down. That night, Terry gets a phone call from the man he owes money to. Ruby picks up the extension line and listens in. She hears that Terry used the school refund to pay interest on the loan. The loan shark gives him 2 days to pay the rest. After the call, Ruby saves the man's number on the phone. The next day, she calls Alvin to ask about the BMW, and he tells her it belongs to Terry's company. But before she can say more, her teacher calls her and takes her to the principal's office. They found out her Hamlet essay was copied from a book. The principal warns she might be expelled. Ruby decides to run away. She gets up at 4 a.m., sneaks into Terry and Aaron's room, and takes the car keys. She wakes Rhett, and just as she starts the car, Terry wakes up. They hit the road but get stopped at a police checkpoint. Soon after, Terry and Aaron show up and take them home. On the ride back, Ruby accuses Terry of killing their parents for the money, but he denies it. At home, Ruby tries to escape again, but Terry catches her. He tells her that even if something happens to her, they still have Rhett, and that's enough to access the trust fund. Aaron walks in and injects Ruby with something that knocks her out. The loan shark calls again, pressuring Terry for money. Desperate, he goes to the trust officer asking for a portion of the kids' fund, saying it's for school fees. But the officer pulls out a copy of the refund letter, apparently sent by Ruby. Caught in his lie, Terry's request is denied. Meanwhile, Aaron, who's been stealing meds from the hospital, gets a call from the medical director. She's now at risk of losing her license. This leads to a heated fight between her and Terry. It's revealed that Aaron turned to drugs after Terry killed the kids' parents. She now wants to stop, but Terry says it's too late. He tells her they need to get rid of Ruby, but they've run out of drugs, so he leaves to find more. Aaron watches an old video of her and Ruby from when she was little. The memory fills her with guilt. The next day, Ruby wakes up and finds someone hugging her. It's Aaron's lifeless body. Terry comes home, finds his wife dead, but realizes the kids are nowhere to be found. They're about to leave the house when Terry catches them and locks them in the basement. Fortunately, Ruby finds a small window they can use to get out. Meanwhile, Terry messes with the brakes on his Jaguar and parks it outside. He then pours himself a drink and dozes off. Rhett manages to slip out and grabs the keys from Terry, who had only been pretending to be passed out. As they get ready to leave, Ruby becomes suspicious, wondering why it seems so easy to escape. Just then, someone rings the doorbell and Terry jumps up. It's Alvin, and he tells Terry that the bank froze his guardianship account because the trust officer grew suspicious. It turns out Alvin was the one telling Terry and Aaron about Ruby's concerns because he had trusted them. Soon after, the loan sharks arrive to collect what's owed. They say Terry's wife gave them the address, but Terry realizes it was Ruby who did it. As Alvin tries to leave, one of the men stabs him to death. They try to take Terry with them and he begs them not to use his Jaguar. That's when Ruby realizes he must have done something to the car. Terry leads them to his other car, but its tires are flat. Now panicking, Terry watches as the men tie him up and force him into the Jaguar. Once they've driven off, Ruby steps out holding the knife she used to flatten the tires. As the men speed down the road, the driver realizes the brakes are gone. He can't stop the car, and they crash through a barrier and fall off the road. Ruby and Rhett are walking along the highway when a sheriff spots them and offers a ride. They pass by the crash site, and as the sheriff goes to check it, Terry suddenly knocks him out and grabs his gun. When Ruby sees him, she quickly jumps into the patrol car and slams on the gas, heading straight for Terry. She hits him just as he's about to fire. More police officers arrive shortly after and rescue the siblings. Ruby and Rhett later visit their parents' graves, now in the care of a new guardian, an uncle they haven't seen in 10 years.